In the Roman Empire, the shadow of a sundial swept across a lifetime with brutal speed. The average person who survived childhood could expect to live for approximately 28 years. Decades of labor, love, and loss were compressed into a startlingly brief existence. A single fever, a single failed harvest was a death sentence. It is in this world, a world of constant, imminent peril, that the Apostle Paul makes an almost scandalous claim. He looks at a lifetime of his own shipwrecks, beatings, and betrayals and describes it as an affliction which is but for a moment. To our modern ears, this can sound cruel. It feels like a dismissal of chronic pain, of lifelong struggle, of a grief that feels anything but momentary. But what if Paul wasn't using a poetic platitude? What if, in a world where your entire life lasted only 28 years, he was making a statement of pure, mathematical scale? This wasn't an attempt to minimize the agony of the present. It was a radical reframing of time itself. A direct comparison between a genuinely short, brutal existence and an eternity so vast it renders even decades of suffering into a relative instant. The question then is not, is the pain real? But what is it for? Paul's letter to the church in Corinth contains another clue. He doesn't just say the affliction is endured. He says it, quote, worketh for us. The original Greek verb is katagazetai. It doesn't mean to passively allow. It means to actively produce to accomplish to bring about a result. This reframes suffering from a passive state of endurance into an active, generative process. The affliction itself becomes the mechanism. It's a startling theological claim that finds an unexpected echo in the corridors of modern psychology. It's a phenomenon now known as post-traumatic growth. Psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun discovered that for many individuals, the struggle with a major life crisis can become the catalyst for profound positive change. It's not about the absence of pain. The growth happens precisely because of the struggle with the trauma, not in spite of it. People report a greater appreciation for life, deeper relationships, and a newfound sense of personal strength. The trauma is not good, but the evidence suggests it can work for the survivor, producing a resilience that was previously unimaginable. The process itself forges the outcome. This secular observation provides a tangible model for what Paul was describing. He wasn't offering a simple look on the bright side platitude. He was describing a spiritual mechanism where the friction of our present reality is the very agent producing a future reality. But what exactly is that reality? If you are tired of shallow answers to life's deepest questions, and you believe that faith and reason are not enemies, consider joining the community of thinkers who support this work. We're conducting a different kind of investigation here, one that honors the complexity of both Scripture and the human experience. To understand the product, we have to return to the source code of the verse. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 17. The most difficult part for many is the phrase light affliction. How can decades of depression, chronic illness, or profound loss ever be called light? The answer lies not in emotion, but in physics. The Greek word Paul uses for light is elafron. It means light in terms of weight, something easily carried. He immediately contrasts it with the Greek word for weight, barrows, from which we get the word barometer. He's creating a deliberate, almost scientific contrast of mass. But it's the next word that changes everything. The affliction is light, and it produces an eternal weight of what? Glory. This is where we must leave Greece and go to Jerusalem. Because to a first-century Jew like Paul, the word glory was not an abstract concept or a shimmery feeling. It had a physical definition. The Hebrew word for glory is kabod. The root of kabod means heavy, substantial, weighty. When the Bible speaks of the glory of God, it is speaking of the sheer, unimaginable substance and reality of His being. It is the heaviest, most real thing in existence. This is the autopsy of the verse. Paul is not saying your pain is emotionally insignificant. He is making a statement of substance. He is saying that your temporary, lightweight affliction is actively producing something of eternal, unimaginable, heavyweight substance. It is forging a reality. Consider the blacksmith. He takes a piece of raw, shapeless iron. It is nothing. To make it something, he must subject it to a process of extreme violence. He plunges it into the fire, a crucible of agonizing heat. This is the first stage of transformation. Then comes the pressure. He places it on the anvil and strikes it with the full force of his hammer. The blows are deafening, relentless. Each impact is a moment of controlled trauma, shaping the metal, compressing its structure, beating out every impurity. The iron has no say in this. From the outside, the process is pure destruction. It is fire and noise and brute force. The affliction seems random, chaotic, and purposeless. But the blacksmith is not destroying the iron. He is revealing what it was always meant to become. He has a design in mind. This is the biblical picture of our suffering. It is the fire, the hammer, and the anvil. It is the active, and often violent, process by which a master craftsman is forging something not just beautiful, but unbreakable. Something with weight, with substance. An eternal weight of glory. The central claim is not that the pain will disappear in this life. The claim is that the product of the pain is more real, more substantial, and will one day so completely eclipse the memory of the process that the process will, in comparison, seem both light and momentary. Your suffering, therefore, is not being minimized by this verse. On the contrary, the glory it produces is being maximized beyond all human comprehension. True biblical hope is not pretending the fire isn't hot, or the hammer isn't heavy. It is a defiant trust in the skill of the blacksmith. It is the conviction that he is not just watching you endure the process, he is performing it. And the signature of this master is that he wastes nothing. Not a single tear, not a single hammer blow. Each one has a purpose in the final weight of what you are becoming. So, the final question this evidence invites is a personal one. What if your deepest wounds are not a sign of your abandonment, but the primary site of your transformation? What if the very place of your greatest agony is where the eternal weight is being forged?